Welcome, everybody. I'm Emma Stewart. I'm one of the execs on Little Darlings and creative director of Kindle Entertainment. Welcome to our panel discussion about adapting Little Darlings for Sky Kids and Sky Cinema, and how we tackled updating the story and making it diverse for a contemporary audience. Little Darlings is based on a book by the iconic children's author Jacqueline Wilson, and our adaptation updated the story and put two Black families at the heart of the show. It follows the story of 11-year-old Destiny, who wants to meet her dad, Danny, who just so happens to be a famous rock star. Danny and Destiny's mum, Kate, rekindle the flame they held for each other, and Destiny meets her new sister, Sunset. It's about how two families are thrust together and try to find their feet. And thanks to the talent of the people on this panel, we were able to realise our ambition to make it aspirational, funny and authentic. First of all, we'll play a clip from the show and then we can start talking to our panel.
Destiny! What are you doing? I didn't know where you'd gone.
Sunset.
Actually, who are you?
Don't worry, Danny. I'll protect you.
Kate.
Seriously, who are you?
I'm Destiny. I'm your sister.
You?
Could you hold this, please? Thank you.
So joining us today is Lamar, who plays Danny, Jamelia, who plays Kate, writer Nathan Bryan, writer Johnny Wright, and Sky commissioning exec Estelle Hughes. So question for the writers, Nathan and Johnny first. I'll come to you first, Nathan, and then to you, Johnny. Nathan, what drew you to adapting this book?
Well, I think firstly, I'm the hugest Jacqueline Wilson fan. So the minute I saw this project pop up, I knew just from her name, I wanted to be involved in somehow, as I grew up reading her books. And then once I'd read the book, I just loved the story. I loved how there were two separate worlds of our leads, and seeing Danny as a rock star and just really getting to kind of fill that world out and, you know, bring that to a new audience really, really excited me.
I was just really drawn to the story. I liked this kind of like tale of two cities aspect that you had this, there was one half like set in this council estate and then one half in this glamorous kind of almost like American pop star world. And I thought this can really work. And what really drew me especially is I thought, not only can it really work and is a brilliant book, but I can add something to this and I can make this a little bit different to how it already is. So it had that potential for me to and Nathan to kind of put our own little jazz into it as well.
Yeah, and you certainly did that. Thank you very much. And I kind of an extension of that question really is, you know, the vision was to put Black characters at the heart of the story. So Johnny, coming to you first, how did you approach this challenge?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't even a challenge for me. I put Black characters at the heart of everything I do pretty much. So then it was more just liberating being able to do that. And then there's specific challenges in that because of poor Black representation in the past, we had to be very careful of some things. For example, the whole Danny Kilman, who's the dad in the show, not knowing his daughter. So we had to be careful about, because of unfortunate kind of cliched stereotypes about Black fathers, we wanted the character who Lamar ended up playing to be a positive role model, but to still make him flawed and interesting. So that was a challenge, and specifically with casting as well, we wanted the children to look like they were. We wanted Danny and Kate's children or child to look like Danny and Kate's child. So that was a challenge somewhat in casting, and we wanted to be realistic, but we just wanted to kind of show Black joy on screen, and so it was I didn't see it as a challenge at all. It was more just a great thing, something to embrace.
It's exactly the same with Johnny. My work always will center Black characters. So that for me is a joy to do. And I think when we were having early conversations about it, I wanted to create a show with Johnny, which I wanted to watch when I was a young kid, wanting to see myself, wanting to see my family and culture. So that for me was really important. I think one of the references early on was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and just seeing a Black family in a mansion and this world. Because, you know, on TV, we often see only one side of it. And even, you know, in Destiny's side, which she lives in an estate, that is the most fun, colorful, beautiful estates, like so many are up and down the country. So we also wanted to bring that through. I think another part of the series, which I think Johnny must take credit for, because they were in his eps, was like the hair salon, and giving it that sort of style. And then, you know, there's a scene in Johnny's eps where they're eating Ital stew, and that's a massive part of, you know, Jamaican culture. And there's lines about jollof and those sort of, is it a jollof line or is it a line about like Nigerian food? I don't know. You cause some drama in your episode, which I loved.
I caused some drama with my Nigerian wife because I cussed Nigerian food. The character cussed Nigerian food. But,
yeah. And just hearing that, like, I mean, obviously just seeing that in the scripts and that coming alive, it just felt so exciting to see in those scripts, because it gave, like what Johnny said earlier, it gave us a reason to feel like, as writers, what we are bringing to Jacqueline's Amazing World, you know.
So that kind of granular detail is what made it feel really authentic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the specificity is what me and Nathan really wanted to lean into, as well as making it universal and for everyone.
Yeah.
Coming to you now, Estelle. So a number of Jacqueline Wilson books have been dramatised for UK kids television. What was it that excited you about Little Darlings that made you want to put it on the Sky Kids?
Well, we definitely were looking for some known IP. So the fact that it was Jacqueline was incredible. That's as known as you can get for that age group in drama. We wanted it to be girl-led. But we really wanted something glossy and upbeat and positive, because that's sort of the Sky Kids approach, and would make it really distinctive for our audience. But it was when you guys at Kindle and Nathan and Johnny started to talk about how you could adapt it, because it's an older book. I think it's 2010. And, you know, it's got some tough elements to it. There's sort of some stressful moments, things like that. But we wanted to modernize it. And the ideas that you guys came up with to adapt it, which was to give it the gloss and the positivity and the emotional heart, all of that, all of which is in the original book, but in a very different way and in an updated way for a new audience. And the format as well, the way the format really worked helped us get it funded, because it was flexible as a mini series and a movie, and then the spin-off content really helped. So it ticked the sort of the funding boxes, which was really important for us as well, just so that we could get it up and on air and fully funded by Sky.
I'm very glad you did. And a key part of the success of this project was the casting. Music's integral to the storytelling. So we were really lucky to be able to cast two music artists, Jamelia and Lamar, in the lead roles. Jamelia, hello. What attracted you to playing this role?
I think there was a lot about the role. The way it was sold to me, first of all, was just, you know, it was centered on Black joy. And for me, that's something that I am extremely passionate about, anyone who knows me. So for me, the opportunity to, you know, to be involved in the portrayal of Black joy was just, it was a beautiful opportunity. And for me, I think what made it, and even now, like I feel so honored and so blessed to have been involved, because it wasn't just, what do they call it? Shop talk. It wasn't just, you know, they weren't just words to get me involved. Kindle, Sky, everyone really followed through on what we all wanted to achieve, which was a joyous, beautiful representation of Black joy. And working with everyone, you know, from the top right down to the bottom was just It was an experience that I've never, ever had before. And as I said, to kind of have the initial conversation and have it followed through to the very final step for me was just like, even now, I mean, I watched it like just this weekend, just gone. Like, I'm shocked to have been involved. And yeah, I think it's a triumph for everyone involved.
What attracted me to the role, initially it was just the story. Jacqueline Wilson's a great writer. I thought the role of Danny Kilman might be one I could play because, he's a father, I'm a father. He is into music, I'm into music. I thought, okay, as a base, that's strong, there's strong, acting-wise, strong parallels I could draw. So that was cool. But then, as time went on, I learned about Jamelia being involved, Nathan, Johnny, and I thought, yeah, do you know what, this could be really, really cool. And then you add in the extra layer of trying to represent a black cast, a black family, in a very positive light, a very honest one, and a bit of comedy in there as well. I just thought it was a great cocktail of minds and intention. Sky had the right intention, Kindle had the right intention, and we're very, very open all the way along, open and honest, and open to discussion all the way through. So that made for a very positive experience as well. So just like Jamelia said, from the top to the bottom.
Jamelia, you've talked a little bit about Black Joy, and you've sort of answered this question really, but how important was representation to you in the story?
For me, I think there are two things. Sometimes there are, we can talk about representation, and I think sometimes people just see that as, for instance, Black representation is, a story, but make it Black. But it's so much more than that, as a Black audience member myself, moments of authenticity is what help us to believe in the story and help us to feel like we belong. One of the things that will forever stay with me, my 4-year-old daughter and I, at 41, experienced that feeling at the same time while watching Little Darlings. So, there were things, I don't know, just little things like seeing a Black woman cussing like my mom, or seeing the beautiful relationship between father and daughter on screen, or just, seeing Danny say, "I love you" to Sunset, to me was just like literally I had tears in my eyes. And it was because I'd never seen that before. And my 4-year-old, she sees that, she has that every day, but she's never seen that on screen. And I think it is really important for us to have ourselves authentically represented. It's not just a case of having someone on screen who is the same color as you, because as you can see in Little Darlings, there are so many different characters, and that's what Blackness is. We're all different. We're all, we have different cultures, that I'm Jamaican, Lamar's Nigerian. And I think that our cultures were represented just in little jokes, in little, inside things. Like there were things that I didn't understand. I was like, what's that? And then Lamar explains it to me and I'm like, oh, okay, learned something new. But it was beautiful. I also loved that Diana's character as a mixed race character. Again, if you know me, hair is a big thing to me, but that she had Afro textured hair, because it's not often that we see mixed race characters with Afro textured hair. And as Nathan can let you know, our hair comes in all different textures, but again, it's not always represented. And that's not the reason Diana was chosen. She's a fantastic actress, but those little things, they really do mean a lot.
Representation was very important for me. I think, as Jamelia just mentioned, Black comes in so many different, it means so many different things, shades, traditions, beliefs, even in your upbringings, there's subtle differences that unless those minor details are paid attention to, can get lost. I think Nathan and Johnny did an amazing job at putting in the comedy, putting in the story, but also throwing in those little jokes and those little details and comments that would make it that much more personal for the viewer.
For Kindle and for Sky, the off-screen diverse talent was as important as the on-screen talent in terms of making this feel fresh and authentic. Many of the key roles were filled by Black talent. Our director, Ian Arye, plus 7 other heads of department, including costume, hair and makeup. And their teams were also made up of diverse talent, with many people stepping up to roles for the first time. Jamelia, how did having a diverse crew affect your experience on set? And how did this differ to other experiences you've had?
How long have you got? No, for me, honestly, I have never felt so comfortable on set. I have never experienced just, such happiness going into work. The environment, and for me, it wasn't just about seeing other Black people. It was about seeing older people, seeing, just diversity in its true form. For me, I kind of felt like this is an opportunity that has been missed so many times. And when you miss that, there are other elements that we miss out on as viewers, because, there was diversity of ideas, there were diversity of perspectives, and all of those things kind of led to kind of like a tapestry of beauty. And to work in that environment for me was just, and I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm not saying there weren't any mistakes, but even if we did make a mistake, there was also room for error, room to grow, room to discuss. We had little meetings here and there. I remember there was one day I was supposed to, there's a scene where I'm doing Destiny's hair. And this was, I think, one of my first days on set. And I was a bit like, in my head, I was like, oh, we wouldn't use that comb. We wouldn't use that comb. And I just thought, let me just say it. Let me just say it. And it wasn't a problem. It was just like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But show me the type of comb that you need. And it was, and obviously that kind of gave us the confidence to communicate honestly with each other. And again, there were just things that were, again, it was all about contributing to that authenticity. And gosh, the crew were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. And as I said, a joy to work with. And I have never in my 20 odd years in the entertainment industry worked in an environment like that. And I wish this environment on everyone.
Yeah, representation is a big one. But, in front of the camera and behind the camera, I think... it was just so positive. It was just so positive, and I'm really happy that Sky and Kindle didn't just talk the talk; they walked the walk as well. So on this one, major props.
Thank you so much. That's all we've got time for today. I'd like to thank our panel, Jamelia, Lamar, Nathan, Johnny and Estelle, for joining me today. We hope this discussion will be interesting to people, and don't forget to catch Little Darlings on Sky Kids and Sky Cinema.